So everyone, I hope your pathways and careers mornings went really well. I want to give a big round of applause to all our guests who will get introduced in a minute. Okay, so everyone, thanks so much for coming. This is getting recorded audio and video for Super Jam podcasts as well. If at any point you got any questions, you can give me a shout. I'll mainly be facing this way, so if you're behind me and want to ask a question, just shout, David, and just tell me, right? There'll be a chance at the end for questions as well, too. But we'll get started properly just now, and I'll do some introductions. So everyone, welcome to our panel talk. Today, we are doing the theme of a song, okay? The story of a song from beginning to end, writing it, producing it, and then releasing it out into the world and getting people to listen to it. That is the vibe today. So we've got some amazing guests to help us with that. We've got Lucy. How are you doing, Lucy?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Lucy is a singer-songwriter who's been featured on BBC Radio 2, BBC Radio 6 Music, and also runs like songwriting workshops in Folkestone as well and other places. We also got Oz. How are you doing, Oz?
Very well. Nice to see you.
Great, same. And Oz runs his own recording studio and is production and mixing expert, worked with massive artists. And we've also got Noel and Katie. How are you guys doing?
Oh, all good.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And these legends run another acronym who's like a creative marketing business. And the idea is they're going to help us find out ways maybe you can market your own music and also make your music events better, because they do digital marketing and experiential in-person marketing kind of stuff. So we'll go through all that today, and hopefully by the end of it, you will have a feel of like, oh, this is how I write my song, this is how we get it recorded, and how do I promote it once it's out there. So great to have you guys with us. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks.
I'm going to start off by asking Lucy a question, and I was going to wonder, can you tell us a little bit about writing your most recent single?
Yeah. Imagine if I was like, no. My most recent single came out last year. It's a song called Places and People. And every song for me is different, the songwriting process. But this one, I was doom scrolling on TikTok. And for me, I never normally get music things, but this video came up and it was like an Irish trad song. And I felt really influenced to write. So I put my phone down, picked up my guitar, which I should do way more often. And I knew I wanted to write a song about Folkestone. I live in Folkestone. I moved there 2 years ago. And it's my little love song to Folkestone, but also mentions all the places that I've lived in and loved that kind of led me to moving to this part of the world. And yeah, I think it's one of those songs that just kind of fell out. And they're the best songs for me, that I don't have to really think about. It's more like a diary entry. It's a really personal song for me. It's probably not relatable to anyone because it mentions really specific things like my brother living in Rhode Island and my friends moving to Australia. But yeah, it's more like a diary entry that just fell out. The only thing is I had to make sure to go back on TikTok and make sure I didn't copy that song that I was listening, because sometimes I do that. I listen to a song, write a song and go, that is the best thing I've ever heard. And then I go back and realise I've just copied the song I've listened to. But I didn't.
So that's one thing about putting in those personal details. And people talk about authenticity in songwriting. Do you think that's like actually, it seems counterproductive, but an important thing to do maybe? Yeah, I guess everyone writes differently. Some people write to like a brief. But for me, it's always about myself, because I'm obsessed with myself. That's not true. I think my most honest songs come out that way. But I guess Places and People is really specific, and normally I try and, even if it's personal to me, I try and make it slightly more general so other people can relate to the song. Okay, so it's still accessible, but kind of honest.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now, Oz, you've worked with loads of artists in the recording studio over the years, of course, and a big problem people could suffer from is writer's block. So have you ever worked with an artist or even experienced it yourself, and what someone can do to overcome writer's block?
I think, yeah, I mean, it happens at different levels and at different stages. I mean, I try and work with an artist that, so when we're actually like for realsies laying everything down, we've kind of got things mostly shaped up, because I think sometimes the loose ends that do get tied up in the studio, it can feel harder if there's a lot of pressure. So, sometimes kind of giving yourself lots of time before can be helpful. But I talk to, artists a lot about writing, because quite often when I start working with an artist on like an album or something like that, I'll be chatting with them maybe 8 months before we're recording.
That long?
Yeah, and like that's when we're kind of booking in and planning ahead, and then they'll start sending me ideas. And a big piece of advice I give a lot of people, especially, the level of the artists I work with are usually kind of touring artists now, so their schedule is kind of less, they don't have the time just to sit and write so much. It might be kind of, we've got this amount of time, we're writing in sound checks, we've got a day off here, like, that kind of thing. So what I always recommend is starting with the filter wide or the funnel wide, because what I tend to see is a lot of clients of mine will have an idea that they're really excited about, and then they get onto Logic, and then they start kind of doing a lot of production, and we could do this, we could record harmonies here, which is great, and it's sort of really fun and creative. But I think when people kind of really lock in on one song, they're kind of missing at the start the wider angle of an album. And actually, I find that at the start of the process, the best thing is just to be throwing ideas down. If you've got an idea down, great, move on, another idea. And then that kind of filtering process and tidying up and doing the fun stuff on Logic can come a bit later on. But that's always my advice, because I think also, writing is like a muscle, and I think the more you do it, the better you get at it. So when you have one idea that you're just obsessing about and EQing a vocal on, rather than just writing another idea, you know what I mean? It's like less reps of the muscle workout. So yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And when we do artist development here, we've had some students who like 1 week are starting this song, 1 week starting the next song, and for a while that's actually quite a positive thing.
Oh, so
it's almost
great,
like
yeah.
a season, that, isn't it?
And
Yeah.
I think it helps. That's what also helps break the block as well, because if you've got a block on one thing, put it down, just do something else, just for fun. Even if it's the silliest, I don't know, if you're a guitarist, drummer, vocalist, whatever it is, even if it sounds like it's just an exercise in doing something silly or fun, that can be a great thing, because then it kind of resets your brain. Then you go back to this. Oh yeah, I know exactly what that needed. It needed a B-7 there, and then you're like, oh cool. Yeah,
And Lucy, do you find you go through these seasons where sometimes you're writing more ideas and then sometimes you're more like recording and finishing? Does it normally pan out for you?
Yeah, I go through phases. Normally, if I'm really sad in my life, I write more, and if I'm happy, I don't write anything. Okay. I host an event every month, and it's like a writer's round where it's me and 2 other artists, and I challenge myself to write a new song every month. So sometimes, the best way to write for me is when I'm inspired to write, but sometimes it's just like you have to. You're literally a songwriter as a job, you should probably do something. So sometimes just having like a deadline, like I have to write a song and perform it is really good.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I was going to ask Noel about this as well, because as well as working in marketing, Noel's actually a musician and producer and worked with bands as well. And I was wondering, sometimes when you're working with other musicians, you might get creative differences, the dreaded creative differences. So I was wondering if you've ever experienced that and how you overcame it, if you have.
Yeah, you could say that. Without going into too many, it's not a therapy session, is it? So, yeah, so I used to have a band back in the day. There may have been some creative differences, but I think
I feel like I touched a nerve here and I didn't mean to.
That's a whole other show. Yeah, I think the important thing to think of is, and this applies to things outside music as well, is to have probably side projects or things secondary to your main hustle. So if you have a band, it's like, the band's going in this direction. That's fine for the band. I really want to scratch this itch over here. I'll go and do that myself. It might be like, my band's a rock band and I want to make electronic music. I'm just going to do that as a side project or something. I think that's very healthy. And I think because there's too many ideas. I don't know about you, but I have too many ideas to fit into any one particular persona or day or whatever. So I think that's one thing. And then the other is to think about it kind of a bit more clinically, like a business might be. So it's like, what's the best for this project? What's the best course of action for this thing. It might not be the thing I like the most, but this is going to do best for this project in itself. It's like that might be a commercial decision, it might be like a taste-based decision, it might be the thing that everyone can agree on. So it's compromising, basically. Like, make sure, and you shouldn't always compromise, but like I think there's a time and a place, and I think being able to like see what's best for the whole project and just get on with it. And then there's going to be lots of other opportunities to scratch those other itches, write your own material, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, because it is something that does come up a lot when working in groups and in bands. So I think having your own sort of solo side projects probably like, a great advice, actually. Yeah, because having the electronic rock example was great, because a lot of people like lots of different things. So 100%. Now I thought, as well as writing the music, we're going to talk about recording and marketing, but I was wondering if anyone's got any questions when it comes to songwriting whilst we're on this chapter of our talk today, if anyone wants to ask anything specific about songwriting just now, or lyric writing or anything like that. Lily?
Have you ever, for songwriting, have you ever had any struggle with creating lyrics, thinking of ideas of words or any rhymes to go with it? Have you ever had that struggle or that kind of thing that you struggled to do while creating it?
Yep.
Yes.
All the time. And I'd love to tell you that I'm really good at rhyming, but quite often I'm like, what rhymes with this word? And I've got Rhyme Zone on every single time I write. So, yeah. And sometimes you can be you're trying to write this really, intelligent lyric, but actually sometimes the best lyrics are really simple and they're just from the heart. So sometimes you can overcomplicate things. So, yeah, it's not easy.
I think I have a few, because obviously, I'm not a direct songwriter myself these days. I'm working with other people. So I had, in doing this for 20 years, you develop some tools and skills to kind of help other people with these problems. So one of the things I do is kind of break down how they're writing the song, because some singers, what I realised, they write like a diary entry, that it's words first and then fitting the words into the song, and then other people literally make sounds, and then they'll find words that sound like the sound. So if that's how you do it, try doing it the other way, or vice versa. So it's like I was mentioning earlier, kind of forcing yourself out of your normal way of doing something, even if it feels really strange and silly and weird, because it might just give you that one thing when you go back to doing it the normal way. I've got kind of feel inspired all of a sudden. So it's about finding new ways of breaking out of the patterns, and I think sometimes when you're so locked in on trying to find the rhyme, the word that you're trying to say, it's almost like you're too blinkered. So breaking out of that, thinking about something else, thinking about silly sounds, that how does this, I want this to sound in my ears when this bit happens. And then all of a sudden, I know exactly what it should be. So yeah, try and find inspiration outside the box.
Brilliant stuff. And there'll be time for more questions on lyrics and stuff at the end if anyone's got any questions on songwriting and lyrics. But I think it's time we can have a little chat about the recording of the song now, because I know we've got plenty of students in here who love their mixing, who love their production and recording and stuff like that. And I thought I'll start with Lucy. I was going to ask, before you go into the studio, do you have anything you love to do to prepare? And if our students were going to go into the studio either here or take a trip to one of the other Super Jam studios, is there anything you'd say, remember to do this before you go in?
Yes, I think, and I've only learnt this the more and more I've recorded. So I'm going into the studio next month to record 4 songs.
Nice.
Thank you. And I'm going to be really poor after that. That's fine. It's worth it for the art. One thing I've learnt is to work out the BPM, the tempo of the song. Because when I first started recording, I didn't really know what I was doing. Well, I did to an extent. And I wouldn't know what the actual BPM of the song was. So you'd end up working that through whilst you're in the studio, which costs a lot of, money and time. So what I do now is I just Google tap BPM and I sing the song whilst tapping. I don't know if that's going to sound awful on your podcast. And then I will go on to Logic, or I guess you can just Google metronome and put that BPM, and then just practice playing to the metronome. Because if you're anything like me, I play solo, so I never play with a drummer. And I'd like to think that I'm always keeping on time, but I don't, and I might go really slow for the verses, and then the chorus might be faster, and when you come to record, you can't really do that. And then the other thing I would say is to make sure that you know the chords, and probably print them out or send them to your producer, because again, like I might write a song and it's in my head it's C, G, A minor, F, but actually I'm playing with a capo on 3. So when the producer comes and they add more instrumentation, they're going to need to know the chords. And again, I work with producers that can do that, but it eats into the time. So you can probably just Google what is C on capo 3. Do you know?
Yes, doing that bit of
Just thought I'd throw you under the bus.
A C shape like that.
Yeah.
On capo 3. Oh, could be an E.
See, I had no
Any
idea.
guitar nerds out there that can help us?
Fact check, fact check.
Yeah. Okay, they'll be raging in the comments, you know, like, when this goes out. But no, that's a great insight, and hopefully gives you guys an idea of what to do preparation before you go into the studio. But once you're there, some of us, well, a lot of you have been in the Super Jam studios, but might never have visited like external studio, like somewhere else, like Oz's one, for example. And so I was wondering, Oz, as a studio owner, can you describe what the experience is like for an artist when they come to record? Maybe tell us a little bit about what it's like on the first day, you know, things that for a new person might seem stressful, but you're like, oh, this is normal, don't worry about it. All these kind of things. What's it like when people come to record at an external studio?
D sharp. It was, yeah. I think the whole thing can be really nerve-wracking. And I mean, I'll start this by just saying that, like, so many times that I'll work with an artist on their first time, or, you know, their first EP or their first single, and then they come back, you know, however much time later to do their second one. And the first thing they'll always say to me is, don't worry, Oz, this time we've got X, we've got another guitar, we've got better strings, or oh, don't worry, Oz, this time we've got a better power supply for our pedals. And I always look at them like, why? And they're like, oh, do you not remember that awful thing that happened where the power supply for the pedal broke? And that's every day in a recording studio.
Yeah, okay.
So something goes wrong every day. And most people that have, you know, most producers or engineers who have done it long enough just kind of go, right, okay, that's fine, we'll fix that. And it's just part of the process. So be relaxed. I think a wider thing is just to, you know, hopefully if you know, budgets or, you know, your situation allows to work with someone that you trust, I think is just such a big thing. And be around people that you trust. So if you guys are recording here and there's other kind of students who you know are really good at recording and you really like the way that their last recording sounds, get them in. Get people involved around you that you know, and then that way I think that helps a lot of that kind of stress and anxiety going into the recording, because you're like, okay, it's not me on my own, it's all eyes aren't on me, it's a team effort that everyone's involved and we can all help each other along.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah,
Can I jump in? Yeah, I think one of the most beneficial things you can do is find a producer that you work with really well. And I've worked with a lot of producers, and I just keep coming back to the same ones, that they just understand me. But you don't really know that until you start working with them. So it's a risk financially, but maybe one thing that I did before I found my producers are called the Dunwells. They're an indie folk band in Leeds, a duo. I wrote with them. I had a few writing sessions first, and I already clicked with them. I think it's really important to click as friends as well as kind of the business mind. So yeah, find your people.
Yeah, 100%. So getting that team of friends and allies sounds like a big important step when you're recording. Now, another thing that can happen when you're recording, I'm sure we've all experienced it at some point, is you might get the dreaded red light fever, where the record is happening and suddenly you just can't play your instrument. You're like, oh. Yeah. So, Noel, I know you've been in recording studios and stuff before as well. Have you ever had red light fever or seen someone with it? What did you do to get over it? That kind of thing.
Yeah,
all the time.
All the time. Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to it's even on a much smaller level. Even if you've got something like a guitar loop or something, you're playing something and you're like, oh, that's cool. And as soon as you record the loop, you mess it up. So and it's like, so the first thing I was going to say, if feasible, like just try and record as much as possible, even between takes and things. Just keep recording because invariably your practice. Or you'll do something that sounds great and you weren't ready, you weren't recording. So if you can, and again, there's like feasibility issues sometimes, but like record as much as you can. The second thing I was just thinking is there's a point you guys made about trust, and in terms of like trusting the taste or the production chops of the producer. But in terms of like vulnerability and like trusting the people around as friends, I think there's a lot to be said for not wanting to mess up in front of people and I think so. This is you can't do this on the day, but like building up those like getting to know the people you're working with on a personal level. So it's kind of much like a romantic relationship almost. Like you need to be able to be like vulnerable in front of these people, and like especially with things like lyrics and personal performances, or if you're like not particularly comfortable with a certain instrument or something, and you'd be like, everyone's judging me. Oh, I'm going to be like, oh, I'm on the clock. So I think a lot of that is to like build up like a friendly relationship with those people, so you're not going to feel like you're being judged. And if you are feeling like that, you can like just like get everyone out of the room, do something on your own, and that's fine as well. And I think just being able to goof around a little bit and trying to get those things out, because like there's also a worry of like having to get that thing perfect, and it can also get a bit staid and a bit boring if you're not going to, oh, I could push it, but like I'm not going to because I might mess it up. So I think that's probably the most important. Oh, and if you've practiced ahead of time, that obviously helps.
It's meant to be fun. It's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
And I kind of coming back to what you guys have all been saying about finding the right team to work with and producers to work with. I guess that could mean like maybe once you leave Super Jam, you've booked your first studio to record in. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to go back to that one again in future. It's probably worth trying a few. Even if you like the first one, it's probably worth trying a few, right?
I'm just going to jump in really quickly because there are two things on that. Firstly, what you say, I mean, I think if there are students here and students listening that, aspire to be a, music producer or a sound engineer or a mixer, I think this is a really critical point that I think I've probably touched on before on maybe previous podcasts or panel talks I've done here, but that Noel said, and our job, if that's what you want to do, your job primarily, before thinking about microphones, microphone preamps, DAWs, is making the artist feel safe and making it a safe space. I cannot stress how that one thing has given me a very nice career over a lot of other people, not because I'm super, super amazingly talented at my job, just because I know that when a singer's recording, I will create a complete environment, the lighting, the temperature, the volume in the room, the amount of people in the room, the amount of people that they can see, the eye contact, everything is curated to make that person feel that they are allowed to be vulnerable. And so much of what I do personally is about fostering that environment to make sure that people do feel safe. And to say what you said, to touch on what you said, is if you do go to a studio and you don't feel that, the worst case scenario is you're probably going to get something that sounds pretty cool and a good experience and a good learning experience. But yeah, try someone else out. Because you will, like Lucy was saying, you will know when you click with someone. You'll get in the studio and it will feel light and fun and not scary. Yeah. And there'll probably be lots of laughing going on. And that's when you know
that's
it's,
what we got into music for as well, isn't
exactly.
it? Yeah. And I think that's a really good point that you brought up there with the kind of welcoming attitude. So for any students who want to be producers more, they want to be the engineer and producer, I think even if you are a bit more introverted, it's just simple things, isn't it? Offering them a drink, cup of tea, remembering people's names, asking questions and listening. And it's kind of those like really core people skills that even if you are a bit more shy or introverted, you can totally learn a few basic hacks to like become that kind of thing as well, can't you? For sure. So yeah, I think it's the bedside manner of the music producer is so important. Whether you're an artist, you need someone like that, or you want to be a producer as well, for sure. Now, before we move on to our final section of the panel talk and podcast today, where we're going to hear from Katie. Thanks for your patience with the questions, Katie, and Noel, and the other guys too. I was wanting to ask, has anyone got any questions in regards to recording studios or production or mixing or anything like that you'd like to ask, since we just covered a bit of that on the podcast? No, that's all right. Well, we'll have a little bit of time at the end if you think of one as well. Just thought I'd put it out there now. But so imagine you've done all this. You've done stuff like Lucy's done. You've written your song and you've prepared it. You went into the studio with someone like awesome like Oz. You've recorded it. You know, you've got through all that and it's finished. Like we're talking, it's mixed, it's mastered. It's literally getting uploaded to the distributor to get it out on Spotify and Apple Music and maybe physical as well. Like if we got vinyl, whatever your release is, you know, your music video is going to help promote it. And promotion is a big thing we want to talk about. So Katie, I was going to ask, if our student has a song that is that ready to go, what can they do to really stand out when they market themselves? Because there's an ocean of other artists out there. What kind of things can they do to stand out and be a bit more unique?
Yes. So, yeah, to your point, there is a lot out there at the moment, well, just generally, especially because of social media as well. And, yeah, Noel and I were talking about this in terms of how all the artists are now representing themselves. And this is the thing, all of these decisions, like all the songwriting, like the language you use, all that kind of stuff, all of that essentially ends up with us, and we then have to translate it into a visual representation of yourself. So that comes through in like styling and clothing, like in terms of the genre that you're in as well, because people start bucketing you into different things. They might mix you together as well, and they'll start doing genre blending. Oh, I've never actually said those two words together. And so all of that comes into the promotion level of it. And so, yeah, when we were talking about video, like filming video clips, all of it now, and I've got two examples, which is Father of Peace. They have managed to film themselves in the frame of Instagram. So they've basically shot themselves in, like, say, bathrooms, really tiny spaces where they can fit all three members in the frame. And for me, I'm obsessed with watching them over and over again. Even though I did forget their name, I do remember their style. Yeah. And this is something that's really interesting to me from an art direction point of view, because essentially everything that you've already done and all of these amazing creative people that you've got surrounding you, visually then, how does that then translate? And then how does that move on into event spaces? So what does the staging look like? What do the colours look like? You know, that kind of thing. Also, who else are you playing with? That's also another way of getting good promotion and aligning yourself with, say, musicians that you actually want to play with further along. And then also merchandise. Like when I was doing merch for Noel's band at the very start, I was also organising taxis and organising all of their equipment to be moved as well. I was hand painting tote bags. I was making pin badges. Like all of these things, I think are still valid now, and also they're quite fun to do. So there's quite lo-fi stuff that you can do, but then there's also getting friends involved to help filming your video clips. There's always going to be your friends who want to do photography. They want to do photo editing. They want to do videography, that kind of thing. I think bringing those people in to help sell yourself, I think, is also a really good way of doing it.
Yeah, it's good to have a project. Well, actually,
more projects.
Yeah, good to have a project. So, like the whole starting a band years ago, the whole point of having a band was not necessarily to have a band and write music. I wanted a creative vehicle. So, and it was like, yeah, because then I get to like design the posters and I get to like record a video and it'll have a purpose. You know, you can hang it all off a thing. And then before you know it, you're like, oh damn it, we've kind of made a thing now. Now we have to load vans at 2 a.m.
and write music.
Yeah, horrible things like that. But I'll deal with the music business.
And red light fever.
Yeah. Get back to side projects. But yeah, there's all those things that hang off of it. There's always other people around as well, like you say, that want to like have a vehicle for their material. Like, oh, I'm a screen printer, and you're like, oh, would you mind doing? We could collaborate on something. Oh, I'm a thing, and finding like overlapping audiences. So this like Katie mentioned, finding other people to play on the same bill as. Like if you're mixing that up and you're playing with different people, you're not touring around with the same like 2 bands on the toilet circuit all the time, or like you're mixing it up and introducing yourself to other people, collaborating with other people in other bands or other fields, other like producers remixing your stuff in a genre that's not yours. Oh, here's the drum and bass remix of our folk track. You know, like you start to like get that middle of the Venn diagram thing and start cross-pollinating audiences, and I think that's really important to remember.
I think. Oh, sorry.
I was going to throw a wild card question that I didn't have in my script, but so there's probably students here who are thinking, I want to build my visual identity for my music project. I'm sure there's plenty here who are like, got the music, how we want to build the video, the outfits, the visual identity. What's a good exercise they could do to start getting their ideas out there and building this visual sort of identity? Any ideas on that?
Yeah, actually, we just did a workshop on this, so yes. So we've got... we have because we do branding as well generally for other clients, we go through a personality branding workshop. So essentially what it is working out the archetype that you resonate with, so when I talk about archetypes, it's like the ruler or the joker, or there's 12 of them basically. And you go through this exercise of going, where do I fit? Or collectively, where does this band fit? And this is why this exercise is really good, because some band members might not agree. And this is like a therapy session, essentially, for everyone. And it's a therapy session when we do it with our clients, because this is the bit where everyone gets to say their piece, get emotional, storm out, whatever they need to do, and then come back and they come up with a plan together. And this is the really, really good bit, because they then are aligned visually, sound-wise, and that's when all the magic happens. And I think that's when it gets really exciting. So you can then decide on colours, styling, what do you want your record sleeve to look like? You know, I'm going old school there. But then that basically leads you into, what do our socials look like? What does our website look like? Do we want to go really slick, or do we want to go really lo-fi? It basically informs everything, and it's a bit like a visual roadmap.
Yeah, so did you put it into like a Google Doc or a Canvas?
It can be sketches.
We
just down.
If there's a lot of people
out of your head, but
mood boards. Like Pinterest, whatever.
And you start to spot these patterns between. So when we're dealing with like lots of people, so like outside of like something small like a band is like nice and easy. You've got like a handful of people to deal with. If it's like a big company and there's like 20 people that want to have a say, we do like an online kind of form or something, like a questionnaire. How would you react in this situation? What kind of, if you were a car, what would you be? You know, like those kind of questions. And then you kind of go, okay, I see where we're coalescing around this kind of space. And then once you've got that kind of like this archetype idea of like a idealized version of a character, you can then, that kind of then writes itself. You can then fill in the blanks, be like, oh, that would behave in this way, and it would look like this, and it would have these colours, and it would agree with these themes and have these beliefs. And there's also there's a lot to do with not just the visual identity, but like how you act as a brand, as a band or an individual. It's so what causes do you get behind? What do you say you believe in?
Okay.
And can you back it up?
It sounds like we need to get you guys in for this workshop one day. I'd love to do that one day.
There's a lot.
It goes quite deep.
Great.
It's like what your values are.
That'd be of interest, guys. A branding workshop one day. I'd love to do
Can
that.
I come?
Your artist deep dive. We all get in a room. We do it. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I think we did. Yeah, we did this. We did like this workshop at a music venue in Margate called Where Else, and they did this thing called the Kent Pop Exchange, which some of you may or may not have heard of. But check it out; it's very cool. As part of that, we did this kind of exercise, but we kind of abstracted it because people get up in their heads, and everyone in the room basically had a band or a music project, bar one who was like a videographer or something. But there was. If you start asking people about themselves too much, they can clam up, and it's like, we just want you to get the the exercise done,
Yeah.
know how it works.
Yeah.
So we give them like fictionalized
That's cool.
band, like random like generated band names that we kind of had fun making up, and then
Well, that
what,
sounds like something we'd
yeah,
love to do one
Yeah.
and then it's like what
I'm gonna-
do they look like? Yeah.
That sounds amazing, guys. Now, just on the other side of promotion and marketing, we know how like in TV and radio can be a big part of it. And Lucy's actually had songs featured on BBC Radio 6, BBC Radio 2, and even a song on Love Island, the famous TV show.
Yeah.
So just before we wrap up, we've got a few minutes left. I thought I'd ask Lucy, how did that come about? And how did you manage to get your songs on platforms like that?
Well, I'm guessing you guys have heard of BBC Introducing. If you haven't, it's where unsigned artists can upload their music locally. So the one here, I guess, would be BBC Kent. And that's how I got my music on Six Music. My local radio picked it up and then sent it. So I didn't really do much apart from upload your music, but that's sometimes people completely forget about BBC Introducing, and that can lead to like playing at like massive festivals like what Radio 1's Big Weekend, things like that. Not
Reading and Leeds. Yeah, they
Yeah.
have BBC Introducing stages all over, yeah. And it's free to upload, so yeah.
I've had a festival, not quite as big as that, but big festival.
Yeah.
I got through that. Love Island. Does anyone care?
Yeah, everyone
I
cares.
do.
Love Island fans in the
Embarrassingly, I do watch it. It's okay to watch Love Island as long as you know it's rubbish. Yeah,
I'm going to get you to do a second song.
so I got a few songs actually on Love Island, and actually that was just a matter of knowing someone who worked on the show, and I was like, please can I send you my music, and she got it like in the system. So that was the first time, but the most recent time was last year. So not the most recent series, one before that. I actually did a social media campaign where I had a song called Kiss Me at Midnight, and it was just kind of like a very simple nothingness song. I mean, it was a great song, but I just had this vision of it being played on Love Island, because if you've not seen it, kissing does happen on that show, probably at midnight. So I did a social media campaign where I said, this is day one of me trying to get my song, Kiss Me at Midnight, played on Love Island. And I'd post the video on social media, and people would be tagging Love Island. And then I would play it, I would do it live, which was quite embarrassing, and do it with the audience. And it got quite a lot of traction. And then for some reason, someone that had come to see my gig, she knew the editor of Love Island, and the last episode she sent it to him, and he took a song out and put mine in. But that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't already had the connection with Love Island, who already had my music on
Also,
file.
it shows you never know who's watching in person,
Yeah.
or your reels or TikToks.
Yeah.
You never know who's watching as well. So that's a great story and quite a fun story. Now, I know it's coming up to lunchtime, guys. So I'm afraid that's almost all we got time for today. Unless there's any last questions from the audience who want to ask a little bit about the topics we've covered today. Lily?
So this one is kind of based on like creating music and like publishing it. So I was thinking, so for you, Lucy, have you ever thought of like writing music about mental health? Because as myself, I've been struggling with a lot of mental health, and I was thinking, have you ever wrote music based on like depression or anxiety that you've thought of writing, and then for you that does producing and helping people publish, have you ever had any song artist or creator who wants to publish music based on mental health and things?
Yeah, so I literally wrote a song yesterday about not so much anxiety and depression, but my kind of mental health, Monday to Thursday. Basically, I do music full time, but that often means that I'm not doing anything Monday to Thursday. And it can just be like really lonely. And because I've got my gig at the end of this month, I thought I need to write a song. And I thought I was going to write a song called Good Day, because I'd started writing it. It's like, I'm going to have a good day, good day. And then I was like, right, I've got to write the verse for this Good Day song. And I was feeling really sad. And I was like, I don't think I can write Good Day. So then this song about me feeling really quite depressed just came out. And then my fiance came home and I was like, can I sing you this song that I wrote? And sometimes it feels like so personal, and you think, oh, maybe it's not a good song, it's just me having an outlet, which for me, that's what it was. And I sang it to him, and he said, I think that's probably one of the best songs you've ever written. So, and I was like, I did that in about 45 minutes. So because you feel so deeply, I think, get those feelings out in your music. It's an amazing kind of form of therapy. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I've personally worked on a lot of songs that are kind of touch on mental health and just kind of an exploration of like yourself and stuff, whether that be kind of your mental health, your sexuality. I generally work in rock music, so I think a lot of rock music is a kind of exploration of self. But I think Lucy said it best, is that if you're being authentic to yourself and writing songs that mean something to you, and if your journey with your mental health is where you feel like you're really able to express yourself, not only is it really helpful for you and will be kind of cathartic or some kind of form of therapy for yourself in terms of writing, but as someone that works on the other side of that, the songs that I always connect to best are when people are singing authentically. So if you're writing something that really means something to you, everyone else around you will like it more.
So a great final question. Lily does podcasting with us loads, and we always have Lily's last question. So thanks. So I want to say a massive thank you for everyone in our live audience today. A huge shout out to anyone listening or watching this at home as well. But I want to say a round of applause for Noel, for Katie, for Oz, and Lucy. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll catch you later. Have a good lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.